Adapted from archaic translation by W.H.D. Rhys. JATAKA number 268. Aramadosig JATAKA. Best of all, etc. This story the master told while living in the country near Dakinagiri, about a gardener's son. After the rains, the master left Jetavana monastery, and went on alms pilgrimage in the district about Dakinagiri. A layman invited the Buddha and his company, and made them sit down in his grounds till he gave them of rice and cakes. Then he said, if any of the holy fathers care to see over the grounds, they might go along with the gardener. And he ordered the gardener to supply them with any fruit they might fancy. In due course of time they came upon a bare spot. What is the reason, they asked, that this spot is bare and treeless? The reason is, answered the gardener, that a certain gardener's son, who had to water the saplings, thought he had better give them water in proportion to the length of the roots. So he pulled them all up to see, and watered them accordingly. The result was that the place became bare. The brethren returned, and told this to their master. Said he, not now only has the boy destroyed a plantation. He did just the same before. And then he told them an old world tale. Once upon a time, when a king named Visasana was reigning over Benares, proclamation was made of a holiday. The park keeper thought he would go and keep holiday. So calling the monkeys that lived in the park, he said, this park is a great blessing to you. I want to take a week's holiday. Will you water the saplings on the 7th day? Oh, yes, said they. He gave them the watering skins, and went his way. The monkeys brought water, and began to water the roots. The eldest monkey cried out, wait, now. It's hard to get water always. We must husband it. Let us pull up the plants, and notice the length of their roots. If they have long roots, they need plenty of water. But short ones need but a little. True, true, they agreed. Then some of them pulled up the plants. Then others put them in again, and watered them. The Bodhisattva at the time was a young gentleman living in Benares. Something or other took him to this park, and he saw what the monkeys were doing. Who makes you to do that? Asked he. Our chief, they replied. If that is the wisdom of the chief, what must the rest of you be like? Said he. And to explain the matter, he uttered the first stanza. Best of all the troop is this. What intelligence is his? If he was chosen as the best, what sort of creatures are the rest? Hearing this remark, the monkeys replied with the second stanza. Brahman, you know not what you say, blaming us in such a way. If the root we do not know, how can we tell the trees that grow? To which the Bodhisattva replied by the third, as follows. Monkeys, I have no blame for you, nor those who move in the woodland through. The monarch is a fool, to say please tend my trees while I'm away. When this discourse was ended, the master identified the birth. The boy who destroyed the park was the monkey chief, and I was the wise man. Source. Adapted from archaic translation by W.H.D. Rhys. JATAKA number 269. Sujata JATAKA. Those who are gifted, etc. This story the master told while living in Jetavana monastery about one Sujata, a daughter-in-law of Anathapindika, daughter of the great merchant Dhananjaya, and youngest sister of Visakha. We are told that she entered the house of Anathapindika full of haughtiness, thinking how great a family she had come from, and she was obstinate, violent, passionate, and cruel. Refused to do her part towards her new father and mother, or her husband. And went about the house with harsh words and hard blows for everyone. One day, the master and 500 brothers visited Anathapindika's house, and took their seats. The great merchant sat beside the Lord Buddha, listening to his discourse. At the same time Sujata happened to be scolding the servants. The master ceased speaking, and asked what that noise was. The merchant explained that it was his rude daughter-in-law. That she did not behave properly towards her husband or his parents, she gave no alms, and had no good points. Faithless and unbelieving, she went about the house scolding day and night. The master asked her to be sent. The woman came, and after saluting the master, she stood on one side. Then the master addressed her thus: Sujata, there are 7 kinds of wife a man may have. Of which sort are you? She replied, Sir, you speak too shortly for me to understand. Please explain. Well, said the master, listen attentively, and he uttered the following verses. 1 is bad-hearted, nor compassionates the good. Loves others, but her lord she hates. Destroying all that her lord's wealth obtains, this wife the title of destroyer gains. Whatever the husband gets for her by trade, or skilled profession, or the farmer's spade, she tries to filch a little out of it. For such a wife the title thief is fit. Careless of duty, lazy, passionate, greedy, foul-mouthed, and full of anger and hate, tyrannical to all her underlings, all this the title high and mighty brings. Who always compassionates the good, cares for her husband as a mother would, guards all the wealth her husband may obtain, this wife the title motherly will gain. She who respects her husband in the way young sisters reverence to elders pay, modest, obedient to her husband's will, the sisterly is this wife's title still. She whom her husband's sight will always please as friend, that friend after long absence sees, high-bred and virtuous, giving up hen life to him, this one is called the friendly wife. Calm when abused, afraid of violence, no passion, full of dogged patience, true-hearted, bending to her husband's will, slave is the title given to her still. These, Sujata, are the 7 wives a man may have. 3 of these, the destructive wife, the dishonest wife, and Madam High and Mighty, are reborn in hell. The other 4 in the 5th heaven. They who are called destroyer in this life, the high and mighty, or the stealing wife, being angry, wicked, disrespectful, go out of the body into hell below. They who are called the friendly in this life, motherly, sisterly, or slavish wife, by virtue and their long self-mastery pass into heaven when their bodies die. While the master was explaining these 7 kinds of wives, Sujata attained to the fruit of the first path. And when the master asked to which class she belonged, she answered, I am a slave, sir. And respectfully saluting the Buddha, gained pardon of him. Thus by one admonition the master tamed the bad-tempered woman. And after the meal, when he had described their duties amidst the brotherhood, he entered his scented chamber. Now the brethren gathered together in the hall of truth, and sang the master's praises. Friend, by a single admonition the master has tamed bad-tempered woman, and raised her to fruition of the first path. The master entered, and asked what they were talking of as they sat together. They told him. Said he, Brethren, this is not the first time that I have tamed Sujata by a single admonition. And he proceeded to tell an old world tale. Once upon a time, while Brahmadatta reigned over Benares, the Bodhisattva was born as the son of his queen wife. When he grew up he received his education at Taxila, and after the death of his father, became king and ruled in righteousness. His mother was a passionate woman, cruel, harsh, bad-tempered, ill-tongued. The son wished to admonish his mother. But he felt he must not do anything so disrespectful. So he kept on the lookout for a chance of dropping a hint. One day he went down into the grounds, and his mother went with him. A blue jay bird screeched on the road. At this all the courtiers stopped their ears, crying, "What a harsh voice, what a shriek! Don't he make that noise?" While the Bodhisattva was walking through the park with his mother, and a company of players, a cuckoo, perched amid the thick leaves of a sal tree, sang with a sweet note. All the bystanders were delighted at her voice. Clasping their hands, and stretching them out, they pleaded, "Oh, what a soft voice, what a kind voice, what a gentle voice! Sing away, birdie, sing away." And there they stood, stretching their necks, eagerly listening. The Bodhisattva, noting these 2 things, thought that here was a chance to drop a hint to the Queen Mother. "Mother," said he, when they heard the blue jaybirds cry on the road, everybody stopped their ears, and called out, "Don't make that noise. Don't make that noise," and stopped up their ears. For harsh sounds are liked by nobody. And he repeated the following stanzas. "Those who are gifted with a lovely color, though so nice and beautiful to view, yet if they have a voice all harsh to hear, neither in this world nor the next are dear. There is a bird that you may often see. Ill-favored, black, and speckled though it be, yet its soft voice is pleasant to the ear. How many creatures hold the cuckoo dear? Therefore your voice should gentle be and sweet, wise speaking, not puffed up with self-pride. And such a voice, how sweet the sound of it!" Explains the meaning of the Holy Writ. When the Bodhisattva had thus admonished his mother with these 3 verses, he won her over to his way of thinking. And ever afterwards the wrong followed a right course of living. And he, having by one word made his mother a self-denying woman, afterwards passed away to fare according to his deeds. When the master had ended this discourse, he thus identified the birth. "Sujata was the mother of the king of Benares, and I was the king himself." Source: adapted from archaic translation by Rhys. JATAKA number 270. Ulaka JATAKA. The owl is king, etc. This story the master told while living at Jetavana monastery, about a quarrel between crows and owls. At the period in question, the crows used to eat owls during the day, and at night, the owls flew about, nipping off the heads of the crows as they slept, and thus killing them. There was a certain brother who lived in a cell on the outskirts of Jetavana monastery. When the time came for sweeping, there used to be a quantity of crows' heads to throw away, which had dropped from the tree, enough to fill 7 or 8 potties. He told this to the brethren. In the hall of truth the brethren began to talk about it. "Friend, brother so-and-so finds over so many crows' heads to throw away every day in the place where he lives." The master came in, and asked what they were talking about as they sat together. They told him. They went on to ask how long it was since the crows and owls fell in quarreling. The master replied, "Since the time of the first age of the world." And then he told them an old world tale. Once upon a time, the people who lived in the first cycle of the world gathered together, and took for their king a certain man, handsome, auspicious, commanding, altogether perfect. The quadrupeds also gathered, and chose for king the lion. And the fish in the ocean chose them a fish called Ananda. Then all the birds in the Himalayas assembled upon a flat rock, crying, "Among men there is a king, and among the beasts, and the fish have one too. But amongst us birds king there is none. We should not live in anarchy. We too should choose a king. Fix on someone fit to be set in the king's place." They searched about for such a bird, and chose the owl. "Here is the bird we like," said they. And a bird made proclamation 3 times to all that there would be a vote taken on this matter. After patiently hearing this announcement twice, on the 3rd time up rose a crow, and cried out, "Stay now. If that is what he looks like when he is being appointed king, what will he look like when he is angry? If he only looks at us in anger, we shall be scattered like sesame seeds thrown on a hot plate. I don't want to make this fellow king." And explaining this he uttered the first stanza. "The owl is king, you say, over all bird kind. With your permission, may I speak my mind?" The birds repeated the second, granting him leave to speak. "You have our leave, sir, so it be good and right. For other birds are young, and wise, and bright." Thus permitted, he repeated the third. "I like not to have the owl anointed as our head. Look at his face. If this good humor be, what will he do when he looks angrily?" Then he flew up into the air, cawing out, "I don't like it. I don't like it." The owl rose and pursued him. From then those two nursed enmity one towards another. And the birds chose a golden goose for their king, and dispersed. When the master had ended this discourse, he explained the truths and identified the birth at that time. The wild goose chosen for king was I myself.